Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we do have finally the Deadpool X-Force buff details. Unfortunately, we do not know exactly how his animations are going to look like, which is also going to largely determine, how effective some of his abilities are. We just know for the fact that his animations and visual effects have been updated. But let's get to it. So he's still largely similar in a sense that he's bleed based and power gain based character. This time around, though, he will also have an access to a whole bunch of taunts, and he's going to be a champion that's able to stack taunts, which I kind of actually like because it goes with his theme. Then he can piss off opponents more and more and more. And you also will be able to do some quite silly things with a super slap, which is going to be the heavy attack, which is going to be funny to imagine as Deadpool's heavy attack super slap. Right, so let's read through the abilities from start to finish. So Deadpool can inflict taunt debuffs on the opponent, reducing the opponent's attack rating by 25% for 13 seconds. Max stacks of 3. So you can reduce opponent's attack rating by 75%. On top of that, should you happen to be running Inequity Mastery, each of those debuffs would reduce opponent for additional 6%, considering that they're probably going to have bleed additional 20%. Man, he could be really tanky dude, actually, because opponents ought to be hitting for hardly anything if they have 3 taunts and some 3-4 debuffs in total for Inequity Mastery. Inflict a taunt debuff each time the opponent fails to activate a buff or debuff during a basic attack, cooldown 4 seconds, or you can inflict a taunt debuff by landing heavy attack. So in some matchups you will have to heavy spam, in some matchups you'll be able to combo freely based on who you are fighting against. So that is one of the things that I'm kind of cautious about, that he might be a bit of a heavy spam character as well. Let's get into it. All attacks, Dandempog. 100% chance to inflict bleed debuff, causing 1229.5 direct damage over 4 seconds. Cooldown is 4 seconds. Now, there are good and bad things about this update, because I actually checked and the bleed is weaker than it was. Previously, the bleed could be up to 1700 direct damage over 3 seconds. And there was no cooldown, so there would be no real time, then it kind of goes down. But the upside of this is that with deep wounds, you could extend it by 2.5 seconds this time around, and then there will be 2.5 seconds where you can actually have 2 bleeds active if you kind of time it well. So the damage might actually even out quite similarly here. But this heavy attack super slap is what we're talking. While walking, skipping forward, Deadpool builds up indefinite slap charges to a max of 10. Once he reaches max charges, Deadpool can expend them during a heavy attack to unleash a super slap, inflicting 10 stacks of Dandempog bleed. So effectively that would mean 12,000 direct damage, 9,200. So it would be interesting to see how potent is this heavy attack super slap with like max deep wounds on and everything else. Lots of bleeds there, but there's even cooler thing as well. So special 1, if the opponent has a taunt debuff during this attack, Dandempog does not have a cooldown, so every hit would be inflicting bleed, which is again quite sweet. Special 2, this is Deadpool's favorite attack, and while fighting his defender, he's 100% more likely to use it over other special attacks. And this is kind of like the scary bit, because each hit that is blocked inflicts taunt. It kind of sets up him for a defense, but basically you're going to have to learn how to dex that level 2, and we don't know whether it's going to be easy or hard. Also, if Deadpool successfully lands all of his hits during the attack, he has 100% chance to inflict stun passive, lasting 3.5 seconds. Now, I do like that it is stun passive because it's kind of quirky, and obviously passive stuns are much more valuable than regular ones. Now, let's go with special 3, inflict a taunt debuff, but of course, 100% chance to gain a vicious buff, increasing potency of damage over time debuffs by 75% for 25 seconds. While this effect is active, all taunts on the opponent are paused as well. And why that is important actually kind of synergizes together with the SIG ability. But basically, significantly increase potency of your bleeds, and also you're going to be keeping your taunts active for quite a long time. Each time the opponent purifies a taunt debuff, or a taunt debuff on the opponent is replaced due to hitting the max stacks limit, Deadpool gains a power gain buff granting half a bar of power over 5 seconds, and then there is a cooldown of 5 seconds. So it'll be quite interesting to see how potent this power gain is at high sig. And in theory, you could potentially be gaining quite a lot of power and spamming bleeds quite ferociously. Now, it's very hard to judge how good of a character he's going to be after all of this. Obviously, recommended master is Deep Wounds and Petrify, Pacify. Why not? But it's going to be in the numbers, and it's going to be in the animations. How many hits on level 1, how many hits on level 2, how potent those heavy attack bleeds. All of that other stuff is going to be very, very important, because obviously the thing that we do know about Deadpool is the fact that he does have some extremely, extremely important synergies, like with Nick Fury Restoration Kit. You can make virtually all of the champions together with Nick Fury much, much more Liquid Courage and Double Edge friendly. Then he has synergies, for instance, with Omega Red as well, that increases his power rate against bleeding opponents. That is quite huge there. That synergy against with Psycho Advanced, quite cool as well, where heavy attacks can inflict armor breaks. So you can synergize up Deadpool X-Force quite well in this game. And also, obviously, given the fact that he's mutant, he can benefit from Professor X, he can be made a horseman if need be, and all that other stuff, so you can kind of pump him up even further. But obviously, whether he's any good will entirely depend on his numbers and playability. Therefore, at the moment, it is very hard to judge. From what I read, I'm not like overhyped, super hyped, but he does have things that I like. He isn't a champion that does a million things. I always prefer champions that do few things but do them very well. If he bleeds well, if he taunts well, if he has plenty of power gain, he might be just the type of champion that I enjoy using. But obviously, if he does nothing well enough for me to not use him over some better options, then, you know, we'll see how it works out. That is it for now. Not much more to add to this ability description. I haven't read Yondu's abilities yet, so I'm not entirely sure what has changed there. As far as Deadpool X-Force goes, again, the key is definitely going to be the animations and the numbers and how the character flows together. Because I'm also, one thing that I almost forgot to add is while walking, skipping forward, I assume this doesn't count dashing. So it could be quite hard to build up these indefinite slap charges. This is going to be a vital point as well. How easy or hard it is going to be to build up these slap charges and drop your heavies with 10 tandem pokes. Because by the sound of it, it doesn't sound like it will count when you dash forward for an intercept or to punish opponent's special attack. So that might be a bit kind of dodgy there, I guess. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Let me know what you guys think about this buff info so far, and I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about